talking, a lot of times the same people talking, and a lot of times it's not, like sometimes there isn't talking happening at all. And so the goal is that at Everett, and in our classroom, we want to make sure that people feel like that's the time that's going just really well. So it's the time when we're actually communicating with each other, sharing our ideas, so it's the time when we're learning from each other, and not just using it as like a break where you don't have to hear my business, okay? And so, just to do a quick check, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 is like the absolute best. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate yourself as a speaker and listener? So 5 being the absolute best. So just put up hands. 5's like, I'm amazing, I'm perfect. 1's like, I need to work on this a ton. Let's see all hands up. So 5's like, absolutely amazing. 1 would be the opposite. So I'm seeing mostly 2s and 3s, which is kind of I think matching a lot of what we're saying. I'm seeing some 5s, some 1s. Mostly people are 2s and 3s. And I think that's what we're seeing too, so that's why we want to work on this skill. So that's yourself. Now how would you rate our class? And so thinking again, 5 is the absolute best, 1 would be the opposite. If you're thinking about the whole class, just as a group, 1 to 5, put them up. So mostly 2s and 3s again. So it's kind of matching individuals. Cool, so go ahead and turn and talk. Why did you give the class the number that you just did? Go ahead, turn and talk for a moment.
Why did you give the class the
the people around me kind of affect how I listen and how I pay attention. So if they're quiet and there's no talking, I can listen without being
What are you doing?
Back in.
distracted.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ethan, why did you give the class the number that you did?
I pressed 2 because I feel like while we are attempting, we're not not doing anything, we're attempting to have academic conversations, but a lot of people aren't really building upon each other's conversation or what they said. They're just kind of saying what they each think or just not talking at all.
So kind of a mix, so it's maybe someone's talking but we're not necessarily building or we're getting silence.
Yeah.
Joe agree if you group kind of talked about a similar thing? Think some agree?
Also, I think there's a big distraction with people for books.
So you definitely that's part of it, right? Cool. I need to go close. Dylan. Dylan. All right. And same. So I'll okay. Cool. So today what we're going to do is we are going to practice listening and speaking with a protocol. And so up here you can see 2 Post-its. Left side is the actual protocol, the process we're going to use. The right side are the sentence frames we're going to use. Those sentence frames are on the board over here and over here as well. So in a moment, we had 2 of your classmates actually come in and block 1 and record a video, so we're going to watch that in a moment. And here's the way it's going to go. I ask a question, teacher asks a question, partner A answers, Alistair was partner A. Partner B will then paraphrase partner A's answer. Partner B was Andre. And then if they were going to go again, they'd switch the order. And so you're going to notice when they're answering that they're using specific sentence frames. I want you to use those same sentence frames today when you are turning and talking. So you'll notice that when Alistair answers, he says I, since he's the person in this scenario, he's not a character. I believe blank because blank. You'll notice that he also doesn't just use one word. Just because there's a blank and a period doesn't mean he stops there. He says more. He elaborates a little on his answer. And then his answer is over when he says, so what are you hearing me say? And then after that, Andre responds, he goes, what I heard you say was, and he paraphrases it back. We're going to have a chance to practice this in a moment, but I want you to notice how they do that in the video. Make sure you listen out because it's a little, the volume worked okay.
What's your perspective on Fortnite and why?
So I believe that Fortnite has gotten funner because now they play between PS4 and Xbox, and I think that makes it a lot funner now because of
Funner is not a word.
What I heard that you said was that it made it more fun now because of crossplay and competitive.
right, didn't take like 10 minutes. Turn to talk about what you notice when they're listening and they're paraphrasing. Turn to talk about their listening and paraphrasing.
Like Anju wasn't like looking off into the distance, and he was actually paying attention.
All right, back together in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Jacob, what did you notice about how they were listening to each other and then how they were paraphrasing each other?
I noticed that like Anju wasn't like looking off into the distance, like he was actually listening to.
How did you show that?
Because he was like they were making eye contact and stuff.
What else? Was there anything else he was doing that made you like know for sure he was listening?
Well then when he repeated, like he summarized what he said. Yeah.
And then when he summarized, what did you notice about the way he paraphrased it?
He didn't just repeat what he said. He like put it in his own words.
Yeah, but it was like capturing all the key details, right?
Yeah.
Good. Did anyone notice anything else about that? That's the main thing, right? So when you're listening, right, if you're like off and like looking at your book, doing other things, like that's not right. You want to make sure you're actually like looking at the person in the eye, using your body language, shifting yourself so you can pay attention. And with the paraphrasing, right, it didn't mean that he was giving his own separate answer. Andrew did a great job like capturing the key points, and he used the sentence frame. So you heard, again, Alistair, as you're going to do this in a moment, I believe blank because blank. And he ended with, so what are you hearing me say? That was the signal for Andrew to then go, what I heard you say was blank. So what you're going to do is the same thing. Before we do that, we need a partner A and a partner B. And so if you're in a group of 3, you'll have a partner C, and you'll sit out the first one, but you'll rotate in as we keep going. Because there's going to be multiple opportunities today. So if you are the person with the longer hair in your group of 2 or 3, you're going to go first. Raise your hand if you are partner A, who has the longer hair. Cool. At this table, who's partner A? The 2 partner A's? You and then Ted, right? Cool. All right, if you're partner B, raise your hand.
Well, you have
Good.
the second.
If you're partner C at your group, raise your hand. Okay. Cool. Your question to start with here is, I'm going to ask it. Person A, you're going to answer. Person B, you're going to paraphrase. You're going to use the sentence frames when you do it. They're here, they're on this board, they're on this board. Okay, so what is your point of view, on whether students should be allowed to listen to music during independent reading?
Yes.
Use the phone.
During independent reading because they can concentrate. So
What I heard was students would be more concentrated if they use headphones and listen to music when reading.
And then you give your opinion to me. I think.
I think it's not helpful because you're going to be more concentrated in music than if they're reading.
What I heard you say was that you won't be able to concentrate on what you're reading because you'll be listening to the music and it'll distract you. I believe that it will distract you because when I've done it in the past and I find it like I'm either not paying attention to the music, so then what's the point of the music? I'm not paying attention to the music. So then,
Okay, come on back in. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So now you're going to switch. Partner B is going to start, and we're going to do just a quick process check, having done it one time. How did that turn and talk feel to you, using sentence frames, switching, kind of being told exactly what to say? Did it go well or not? Do you get more talking than usual, and why? So this time partner B will start, and then partner A will paraphrase. Go ahead, turn and talk.
I feel really good. When we turn and talk because we talk more, and we don't like just say one word and that's it.
And then I paraphrase. What I heard you say was that it helps us talk more because we have, it helps us talk more.
All right, let's come back together in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Regina, how'd that go? How'd it feel? How did that first turn and talk feel? How did it go for you guys? Say more.
I mean, it was alright, but like, I don't like the phrases that we have to use because I feel like we can't like express our own emotions, and so sometimes we can get annoyed about the phrases, and sometimes we don't.
Show agree if you guys talk about a similar thing in your group. Some folks. Did anyone talk about something different? Finn, what did you guys say?
Yeah. About what? I think it did go well because, like, we both agreed and he said his opinion and his reasoning, and then I basically just said the exact same thing, but I restated it in my voice.
So you were able to do that. So here's the thing, I'll say this from my perspective, to Regina's point, this is gonna feel that way a little bit, especially if you're used to talking a lot. Like if this is something that like you usually talk all the time, this can feel a little stifling like that. What I will say is that I feel like right now I'm hearing a lot more talk than usual. And so for some people this might feel a little weird, so thank you for going through the process. The goal is to make sure like all of us are talking and having that opportunity every class for multiple times. And so if it feels that way at first, just thank you for sticking with it. And then if it hopefully is helping some folks bring their voice into the conversation. All right, so we're gonna get back into our read aloud in a moment. So if you remember yesterday when we left off, we had Quinn and his group of friends that were running away after seeing what happened to Rashad and the police officer. And remember that what happened is that one of Quinn's friends, it turns out that it was one of his friend's brothers that was actually the one that was the police officer that was beating up Rashad. And so we've had that conversation about, would you have stayed? Would you have left? Would you have made the same choice? What would you do? And so we're going to keep going from there, but what we know right now is that there is this connection that's happening between Rashad and his group and Quinn and his group, and we're going to see where this is all going now. All right. Saturday.
Is Rashad the one that wants to party and like his brother goes to those people's house on Friday, or is that crazy?
That's right. Rashad's the one who was the one who got beat up at the...
What happened to Rashad before that?
So
Say
just like,
someone who's a friend of mine was what was going on?
Fernandez, so we can keep going forward. He was the one that got beat up at Jerry's. And so right now, all we know is that he was being beat up, but we don't know what happened after that. And then we can get caught up.
Yeah, what happened before that? Like,
So here's the thing. Okay. Right now, just because we had a couple people, if you were out or not hearing, let me get you caught up later when we have a moment, and we're going to keep going. Okay? Cool. All right. So during the read aloud, we're going to stop 3 times to talk about character perspective. Character's point of view. The same way you were just doing that, you heard about it from Fortnite, music during independent reading. Now you're going to be doing it related to the characters. And so again, we're going to go through the same protocol. So each time we turn and talk, you're going to use the same protocol so that way you can practice and make sure everyone gets a chance to talk. So for the next question, that means partner A is going to answer and partner B is going to paraphrase. Okay? We don't say that yet. All right. Rashad. Custody. That's the one word I kept hearing over and over again as I drifted in and out of a painkiller coma, which, by the way, might have been the best sleep I'd had in I don't even know how long. And that's with a broken nose and a few fractured ribs. Custody. They brought me into the hospital, handcuffs still on, blood still pouring from my nose like a faucet with rusty pipes. My head pounding. Every breath hurt. My jacket, the one my brother gave me, now torn. Custody. The doctor sent me through x-rays, administered pain drugs, filled with my nose until it was set back in its original place, even though they made sure to tell me that it would never look the same, that it would always look broken. But once it healed, I would, at least, be able to breathe normally. They applied ice packs to my ribs, which were super uncomfortable because after a while, the cold makes your skin feel like it's burning. But after that, it all goes numb. So if you think back to what was happening, getting to your question now. Remember that Rashad was beat up by the police officer after being accused falsely of trying to steal the chips at the store. And so if you're Rashad right now, I want you to go ahead and think about this question, or if you're thinking about Rashad's perspective. What do you think Rashad's perspective, point of view, towards the police is right now, and why? Go ahead, turn and talk. And partner A is going to go first.
I think the boy that got beat up, he's feeling some the police didn't have to do that because he was stealing, so he's feeling like racism kind of way,
What I heard you say is that you think that Rashad thinks that it's unfair what the cop did to him and how the police are treating him.
What would you say? All right, let's go back together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tasha.
Yeah. Oh, should I say my
Yes.
response? Okay. I think that he is not very angry at the police because they beat him up, and he's like has
Yeah. So this one again, we just want to go through the process again. Most what I'm hearing was that he's angry with the police, he doesn't trust them, he thinks they're racist, he's angry at them, so I heard a lot of those types of answers. Good. Custody, a police officer, not the one who did this to me, but a different one, the one who fingerprinted me, stood outside the hospital room on guard, making sure I didn't run, as if I could, as if I were a real criminal, as if I were a criminal at all. He stood watch at the door until my parents arrived. Custody. The police officer explained to my folks that I had been caught stealing. Not only that, but that I had also been charged with resisting arrest and public nuisance. There was no point trying to explain. I could barely breathe. I could barely keep my eyes open. The officer read the citations and explained that even though they were all misdemeanors, I had been processed and would still have to appear in court. Then, because I'm a minor, my folks had to fill out paperwork so that I could be signed over and returned to their custody. After that, the police officer left. The next morning, when I woke up from it all, there was my mother sitting in a chair on the other side of my hospital room staring out the window. "Mom?" I said, instantly wincing. I could feel the gauze taped to my face, to my nose. It's that same tight feeling my skin gets after swimming, after the chlorine has turned me into cardboard. I cleared my throat and called out for her again. She whipped toward me, sprang from the chair, and dashed over to my bedside as if I was about to deliver my last words. "Rashad," she said, her voice full of all the motherly stuff, worry and love and hope and fear. "Oh, my baby," she repeated, rubbing her hand on my forehead gently, her voice cracking. "How you feeling?" The truth was, I was feeling two ways. Physically, I obviously didn't feel great, that's for sure. But not terrible, not like I thought I'd feel. But maybe that was the drugs doing their thing. I did feel some soreness though. My breathing was weird and uncomfortable. Every breath felt like 100 tiny needles sticking me in the chest. And that was breathing through my mouth. Breathing through my nose wasn't an option. Not yet, at least. But I was okay. Hell, I was alive. And so the other stuff, well, the alternative was way worse. The other way I was feeling was just confused. I mean, I hadn't done anything. Nothing at all. So why was I hooked up to all these machines, lying in this uncomfortable bed? Why was I arrested? Why was my mother waiting there for me to wake up, dry tears crusted on her face, prayer on her breath? So for me, I'm thinking like it's really interesting how he calls himself confused and not just like angry and frustrated and furious. Because if you think about it, he did nothing wrong. The cop just attacked him. He didn't even get a chance to explain himself. And the idea he's even feeling confused and mixed, to me is interesting because I would assume he'd be furious, and so it's making me wonder what's really going on in his mind right now. I'm okay, I said. She sat on the side of the bed. Listen, I need you to tell me what happened, Rashad. And I need you to be honest with me, okay? But before I could answer, my father came into the room, making a not-so-grand entrance. He had 2 cups of coffee, and even though one was for my mother, my dad's face looked like he could have used them both, and maybe a third. But him being tired didn't stop him from preaching. "You up?" my dad asked my mom, handing her a cup. He hadn't even looked at me yet. If he had, just for a second, he would have noticed my eyes were open, a sure sign of me being awake. My mother nodded, almost as if she were giving him the green light to acknowledge me. "Rashad," he said my name the same way he said it every other day when he was waking me up for school, as if nothing was wrong, as if he wasn't broken up by the side of me lying in bed, black and blue and taped and bandaged and tubed and connected to machines, monitoring whether or not I was actually still breathing. I grunted. "Help me out here, son," he said in his normal voice, which was his asshole voice. "I need to know what the hell you were thinking shoplifting." Shoplifting? And from Jerry's of all places? Dad had that disappointed look on his face. The same face he used to give me before I joined ROTC. The same face he made whenever he talked about spooning. "I didn't steal nothing," I said, suddenly feeling too tired to explain, even though I just woke up. "Well then, why did the cops say you did?" Dad replied, narrowing his eyes and taking a sip of his coffee, a slurp. "I don't know." "You don't know?" Dad scoffed. "Really, Rashad? You don't know?" So right now, I want you to think about Rashad's dad's perspective. What is Rashad's dad's perspective, his point of view, on what likely happened between Rashad and the police? And why do you think that? So what do you think Rashad's dad's perspective on what likely happened? Go ahead, turn and talk. Make sure you're using the protocol this time. Partner B. Partner B goes first.
Rashad thinks that Rashad was shoplifting and that the police arrested him rightfully.
I heard that. What I heard was that his dad thinks that the police caught him like shoplifting, and his dad doesn't believe it.
Is that what you think he's doing in the story right now? Probably not, right? So, why doesn't he trust his son? It's not believe Rashad because why?
I feel like his dad is
I think right now he's saying
he's trying to be like a father to Westbrook. He's also like treating him. Why did it actually
Okay, back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, Donovan, what is Rashad's dad's perspective on what likely happened between Rashad and the police?
I think he's one of 2 things. Either he believes the police and thinks his son was trying to shoplift, or he's about to say, like, you don't know what happened, well, I'll tell you what happened. The police is being unfair because you're running around.
And what do we know about the dad? So when we're thinking about perspective, right, we want to also think about like what happened in our past that influences the way we think in the present. What do we know about his dad's past?
His dad was saying, like, before, like, the only thing, like, a young black man can do in America is like join the army. But he obviously does have some opinions on race and stuff, so he might be telling Rashad, like, this cop is being racist and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So we know he has very positive feelings towards military. If we think back, we also remember that he was part of the military for 4 years and part of the police for 4 years. And so he's really into military, police. We know that his bias is going to be towards trusting the police. And so if something happens, he's probably going to think, right, that like that's one, like if something happens, the police were right, Rashad was wrong, and he's trying to figure out what happened. Let's get going. I felt a cough coming on and did everything I could to pinch it back, knowing that if I let it out, my entire body would feel like it was being hit by a million tiny hammers on the inside. I managed to get it down to a single closed-mouthed grunt, and guess what? It didn't matter. Every bone still seemed to tremble, and my head suddenly felt full of healing. No, I don't know, I repeated after getting through the cough. Look, baby, just tell us what happened, my mother said, calming my father down as usual. From the beginning. I started the story but didn't get very far before the nurse came in, interrupting everything with breakfast. Good morning, she said in a sing-songy way after a light knock on the door. My mother greeted her pleasantly. My father forced a hello. Got you some oatmeal and some orange juice and a little bit of fruit cocktail. The nurse set the food on the tray by my bed. Is everything else okay? What's your name, hon? My mother asked. Clarissa. Clarissa, everything is fine, thank you, Ma said. But do you think we can raise the back of the bed up a little, just so he's not lying so flat? Of course, Clarissa said, sliding the tray away and coming to my side. She pulled out a remote that was wedged between the mattress and the frame. With the push of a button, the bed started to reposition, which meant my body started to reposition, which meant, ouch. Is that good? Clarissa asked. I just nodded, which was hard to do because now my chin was smashed into my chest. I had literally been folded up. She moved the food tray back so that it was close enough for me to reach, and after telling us that the doctor would be in shortly, she left, and my mother helped me situate myself on the bed so that I could look and feel normal as possible. Normal enough for my father to get back to business. So walk me through this, son. You got to the store. I got to the store just to get gum and chips. I picked the bag of chips I wanted, and then I bent down and dug in my bag to try to get my phone so I could call Spoonie. This lady didn't see me squatting behind her and tripped over me. Then I lost my balance, and the bag of chips went flying. The cop assumed I had done something to the lady, which I didn't. The dude who works the register looks up and thinks I'm trying to put the chips in my bag, but I wasn't. Then the cop rushed me and yoked me up all crazy. I paused, then added, and that's it. My mother sat quietly, and my father paced back and forth from the door to the window. Ma was clearly horrified, but Dad, he had on that, son, you aren't telling me everything look. It was clear that to him I had to have done something wrong to bring this on. Were your pants sagging? Dad interrogated, now back over by the door. Were my pants sagging? I repeated, shocked by the question. What does that have to do with anything? Oh, it matters. If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck. So again, as I'm reading this, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a ton of like empathy and just like my heart's going out to Rashad because after everything he's been through and we know he's innocent, it must be like really, really hard to have your dad treating you this way when you're like waking up in the hospital and this is the first thing you're going through. My mother glared at me. David, this is your son we're talking about. The boy's never even been suspended. But they don't know that, Dad said. What they see is what he presents, and it sounds like he presented himself as just another what? Ma cut in again, this time her voice spiking to that don't start level. Dad swallowed the rest of his statement. Well, they said you resisted arrest, he continued in another direction. If you didn't do anything wrong, why would you resist arrest? His voice began to rise. And how many times have I told you and Spoonie? I mean, since y'all were young, we've been going over this. Never fight back. Never talk back. Keep your hands up. Keep your mouth shut. Just do what they ask you to do, and you'll be fine. So what I want you to think about right now, just based on how we see Rashad reacting. Go ahead, turn and talk. Last one for this read aloud. What is Rashad's perspective? Again, Rashad's the one in the hospital. What is Rashad's perspective, point of view, about his dad not believing his story, and why? And this time, partner A goes first. Make sure you're using the sentence frames to go through this last one. Go ahead, turn, and talk. Rashad's perspective on his dad not believing his story.
I believe he feels upset because his father don't believe that story.
What I heard you say was that his father, no, he was upset because his father didn't believe him.
He's really angry, right? It's just like I can't believe the way my dad's treating me. So it'd be like, I believe. Because
And the lady just like back to me.
how would you expect to be treated in this situation?
What I would say is that there's a lot of background that is
Like, Rashad believes.
And she was like trying to say that.
No thoughts, paraphrase.
Not the one that's trying to attack you and call you a liar. Right? So it's like he's like in shock now. His dad's cool.
All right. Back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. For time, we're going to go straight to process check. We can talk more about this in a bit. So, thinking about, again, you've done multiple turn and talks today. Lots of people had a chance to be the person answering or the person paraphrasing. Last process check here. Did this help you and your partner listen and paraphrase better than usual or not? So when you're thinking about like how much you speak or don't speak, again, most of you gave 2s and 3s at the very beginning. So did this help you listen and paraphrase and say more than you normally would or not? Did more people end up talking? So right now, partner B will go first. Go ahead, churn and talk about the process.
This helped because we can like know like what we're thinking and not like just talk and like not listen like to what you're saying, just like nod and like not understand what the people saying.
What I heard you say is that it helps people like pay attention during the turn and talk.
Alright, so I don't know, I sort of disagree and I think that like it did allow us to talk more about the subject at hand, even if like you said I think instead of the other partner, in like an actual instead of the conversation. other partner paraphrasing, I think they should be because otherwise it's going to be he was all that cake. Yeah, cake.
Alright, back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Giuseppe. What did you guys talk about in the process check?
Yeah, I think it did help because it gives like an actual like fit for us to know kind of what to say instead of just talking. And it's like
Yeah. Do you feel, raise your hand if, or actually, fist of 5. So like 5, if you felt like there was a lot more talking today than usual, that would be like 5. If you felt like there was a lot less than usual, that would be 1. So where are you at? So 5 was like a lot more than usual. 1 would be like a lot less than usual. So seeing a lot of like 3s and 4s and some 5s, a couple 2s here too, so maybe for some folks it was a little less. So I think overall what that shows me, at the beginning it was mostly 2s and 3s, and now we're at 3s and 4s. It looks like we're talking more than usual, and then we'll keep working on this to keep improving. All right, exit ticket. I'm going to pass this out in a moment. So now, before you go into independent reading, I want you to fill out an exit ticket, now thinking about Rashad's mom's perspective. So what is Rashad's mom's perspective about how his dad is treating him and why? So the same thing you've been talking about, you're going to have a chance to fill that out now before we go into independent reading.